Bismillah, let's take. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, gambling has been a huge problem in our modern society, with 1.2% of people addicted to gambling. That is more than 80 million people. With that being said, we as the affirmative team believe that this house would give social service and skill training for gambling offenders rather than imprisonment. We support this motion as high as the sky goes. Before I start, I have to do some free rebuttal to the opposition team. They might say that some offenders will abuse the system and re-offend. At least prison lock them away. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I disagree. Prisons creates higher re-offending rates rather than rehabilitation. Offenders leave prison with stigma, no skills, and stronger criminal networks. For example, Norway rehabilitative model has 20% re-offending rates, while the US punitive model has 70%. If we truly care about our safety, our model is far better at preventing repeated crimes. I have a few points that I would like to say, ladies and gentlemen. Starting for number one, rehab is better than punishment. Now, gambling offenders are usually non-violent criminals. Their crime stems from addiction, desperation, or lack of financial knowledge. Sending them to prison does not solve the problem. It only punishes them without addressing the cause. By contrast, social service and skill training allow them to recover, learn, and reintegrate into society. For example, ladies and gentlemen, Singapore National Council on Problem Gambling, or NCPG for short, focused on, instead of criminalizing gambling addicts, Singapore focused on rehabilitation and counseling. Programs like financial counseling, family support, and exclusion orders banning addicts from casinos are prioritized over punishment. This shows how even a strict country like Singapore prefers rehab over prison for gambling-related problem, ladies and gentlemen. Now, on to my second point, better in society and economy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, did you know that prison actually costs more than rehabilitation? Average prison cost per year is actually $35,000 per inmate, ladies and gentlemen, while counseling or rehabilitation, $5,000 per inmate. This would actually help them better in economy and can actually lead them back into society. Do we really need to question this over? While social service contributes directly to community and skill them, producing more workers. Do you believe in second chances, ladies and gentlemen? Well, I do. And with this, we hope to give them a better life and to be a better people in society. They're not going to be rotting away in prison, doing nothing, and wasting taxpayers' money. Now, for example, Japan volunteer probation officers guide non-violent offenders back to society, supervising in skill building and community work rather than incarceration. Emphasize on personal reforms and not punishment, ladies and gentlemen. Now, my last point is that human rights and decency. Alternative to imprisonment, respect for human rights, and ensure proportional punishment. Non-violent offenders like gamblers should not face the same harsh punishment as violent crimes. International standards call for humane and proportionate justice. For example, the United Nations Tokyo Rules in 1990 state that imprisonment should be a last resort, urging states to prioritize community-based rehab measures for non-violent crimes. Our argument aligns with global human rights norms, ensuring offenders are held accountable without excessive punishment. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I can say. Before I end, I truly believe that people should change. They deserve a second chance. That's why we prefer rehabilitation over incarceration. And that is the end of my debate. Thank you for listening to me, ladies and gentlemen.